Hello, everyone.
Welcome back.
Welcome to the Unorthodox Film Podcast, where we discuss movies that meet specific genres, topics, or scenarios, and we recommend movies that we enjoy in hopes that we introduce our listeners to movies that they haven't seen or heard of. With our guests, we discuss movies that we have seen before and engage in conversation based on our memory and recollection of our enjoyment of those titles. At the end of each episode, we roll a dice and select one of the recommended titles to watch together. We will then discuss that film on our next episode with fresh eyes and determine whether the film still holds up, as well as explore the film in a more detailed and critical discussion. Hello, everyone. I am Bradford Clark, and with me is my co-host,
Joseph Sheldon Quick. What up, y'all?
And Joe, why don't you introduce our guest tonight?
Today we have with us my better half, if you will, or as it were, Elizabeth Ann Quick, my lovely
Very
wife.
official.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. First middle name on the show.
That's what I do.
Tends to make me feel like I'm either in court or like I'm in trouble.
In trouble, yeah. Elizabeth Ann!
Oh my God, you just triggered me. I prefer Liz, thank you very much.
Liz from here forward. Last week, we made recommendations for off-colored college comedies, and we randomly selected National Lampoon's 2002 Van Wilder.
Such a
So
classic.
we will start with talking about that, and then later on, we will be discussing our recommendations for films where the devil makes an appearance on screen as a character, as a antagonist, protagonist, asshole, whatever he may.
I just had it as a physical character,
Yeah.
being, not
Yeah.
an entity.
Right. And we'll talk about that one a little bit more. If you've not seen National Lampoon's Van Wilder, we will be starting out. I don't know if this is necessarily a movie that can be spoiled, but if you don't want anything spoiled for you, skip ahead about 25 minutes and then rejoin the conversation when we get to our list. So Van Wilder, y'all.
Should she introduce herself?
She gets you.
I introduced who she is, but like what
Yeah,
what she does for a living.
we can do that.
Oh, she does her life. Remember, we didn't do that with Austin.
With Austin,
until
yeah,
after
but then we did it after the break, and it was a nice engagement after the break, so we can most definitely do that. But Liz is our first guest on the show that is not a member of the film community, and
Only by proxy.
only by proxy, because it keeps coming home to her.
She did almost go to film school.
Yeah, I got in. I couldn't afford San Francisco.
Yeah, who can?
So she dabbled in the arts.
So
in her
what
day.
do you do then, Liz?
I own a massage therapy clinic. I make my own body products. I make divination products. And I'm a writer because I don't know how to sit still.
Fair enough. Where can somebody find your products?
You can find them at our storefront at Just Beneath the Skin in Allen Park, Michigan, off of Allen Road.
Wonderful. Just Beneath the Skin,
On
Allen Park,
Allen
Michigan.
Road. Yep.
Yeah, check it out. I can't say I frequent there because I don't.
Well,
it's
you-
my own responsibility,
You
but I
kind
don't.
of used to, because we used to record our podcast out of her back.
Well,
office.
I'm talking
You're
about the
welcome.
services.
Yes,
I'm talking
thank
about
you.
the services. I was about to recommend the services.
I go
can I
at
say
least
recommend
once
the
a month.
services?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend checking out Just Beneath the Skin. The hands that they have there are magical, and they do wonders to allowing you to continue living your life more comfortable than yesterday.
Very nice.
Which
Very
is always
nice.
a good thing.
Yeah, especially for me. I'm usually terribly uncomfortable. I got a gift certificate from my daughter at Father's Day, and we're now almost 6 months from that, and I still haven't used it. So it's just like I said, it's my own fault.
No worries. It's still on file.
So Van Wilder, are we okay?
Yeah.
Okay, move on.
Yeah, so Ryan Reynolds kind of had it was one of his come-up movies. This
Yeah.
one,
It
one of
was
his
clearly, you
breakthrough
could tell.
roles. And such a baby face. So I was
Oh,
like, wow, looking back, because you don't think he's aged. 'Cause
don't.
He looks so good, but baby face.
Babyface
Yeah,
Ryan.
like,
man.
I'm not sure he was shaving yet. Like, at least it wasn't,
wasn't necessary.
It
Wasn't
definitely
necessary.
wasn't.
He was doing it just
he
to
had
do the
patches.
action.
Yeah.
Someone told him if you shave, it'll grow in faster, so he started.
It works. Okay. But yeah, man, it's classic his humor, and you could tell that there was a bit more like as he grows into being Ryan Reynolds, like he was allowed to do that more. So I'm sure he was fighting a little bit to do some of what he thought was funnier than the script, maybe.
Right.
But
I when the credits rolled, there was some of the, because they used to add in comedies the fall off stuff, the misgiving takes and the
blooper reels.
bloopers. Thank you. That's what I'm looking for. And you could tell from that there was probably some riffing, but with him being so unknown, I'm wondering how much riffing they actually allowed him to do
That's what I
on
was
set,
saying, yeah.
and how much of that was actually scripted, and therefore then, because a lot of the humor he still adheres to, how much did he learn about himself on that set?
Right.
You
I
know?
noticed that even now, like, he has a very specific type of delivery when it's like him riffing, but it specifically with Van Wilder, you could tell that there was a little like very hesitant uncomfortability when it wasn't what he wanted to say.
Right. Well, you could definitely tell like his comedic timing was still there in Van Wilder as it is now. Like there's a signature way to how he pauses and how he adds a little bit of flavor and flair to, an insult or a dig or something that's, to be received differently than spoken.
He does that a lot with facial gesture too.
Yes. His physical comedy was also very, very apparent.
Yeah. And then, oh man, can we just talk about Cal Penn when he came onto the screen?
Cal Penn, yes.
And the fact that he took such a atypical stereotype.
That's what it was almost agonizing to watch.
It really was.
It's not something that he would. It's out of character for him as a performer
today,
or as we grew with him. But this is also a breakout role for him. This was his. Like literally his big role. He didn't have anything really before that I can speak of. Like I'm sure he had stuff.
He had work, but this one he was fucking Raj.
On the map.
Raj. Taj
Mahal.
Mahal.
Yeah, as soon as he did that, I'm like, part of me is crying because that's not good.
Like I could almost do word for word right now the word association they do in that first scene with him.
Yeah.
Milk. Tit, oh mommy. Like, it's just the subtlety. It's so fucking funny.
Yeah. And I didn't catch the name of the guy, but I know that the other roommate, the other friend, he was from Real World. Yeah.
Real World, Hawaii.
His name was like Tank or something, or Tack,
Tack, that's right.
That's when they were trying to put members
Collins
of, reality TV when reality TV wasn't all TV.
Right.
And make them relevant or be like, hey, people watched this one. Put them in a movie, but don't give them too many speaking parts because they're not an actor.
He was just there looking pretty a lot.
Right. But I mean, he didn't get in the way. There are sometimes they bring on those celebrities and they get in the way.
No, he actually had some funny lines. The cock pump.
Yes.
He's trying to like the bong. Where did you get that?
They had him doing the dog donut scene. Yeah, we'll get to that. So actually, let's get to that right now. So we recommended this as a off-color college comedy. Do you think that still qualifies after seeing it? Is this an off-color college comedy?
Oh, 100%. And that scene is 100% National Lampoons, which, they are made to try to push the envelope of comedy. They're always trying to. They very seldom do they really succeed where like maybe there's a bit in a movie, but the movie's trash. Like this was actually a decent movie. It was really enjoyable, but this part, and it's done really well, obviously, because it still to this day disturbs me. Like it gets a physical reaction. I gag.
Oh yeah,
from it.
Well, and they play the scene so long. So we're talking about the scene.
He has an English bulldog that is
He's not neutered.
Yeah,
unneutered, and he's got balls the size.
They call him Colossus.
Yeah,
Silos. That's his name, Silos Colossus. Yeah. So and. They're buoyant. They float. They are large, and they milk him and use his semen as filler for eclairs that they give to a fraternity.
Yeah. I had to walk away.
And they eat these things gratuitously.
Yeah,
and like one of them gargles it. Like it's.
I think I've had these before.
Yeah, it is hysterical, but I can't like. Like listening, I can listen to it, but if I look, I get
yeah. Because first off, if you're eating because
hard to make me gag.
They made the liquid obviously clearly not white frosting. It was very runny, like water, very clear, like
it that dog's
like KY jelly type of appearance. And what's crazy about that is if that's after bite one, I don't care what it tastes like. If that's what it looks like. I would question. I've never had a donut with that kind of
Yeah.
filling.
I was gonna say
It's questionable. And these
I
are the
haven't
smart
had an
guys.
eclair in a long time, but what I can tell you is that the filling is not salty.
No. And they're like, oh, and it's still warm. Like, that is not
That's
a good
when I
sign.
walked away. I'm like, I
That's
need
not
to
a good
go
sign.
away.
She literally left the
Because
room.
the
for
donut is cooked. The
rest of
cream
that
is
scene.
added after it's cooked. So the cream shouldn't be warm. It shouldn't be a part of enjoyment.
I need to take a drink and wash that words out of my mouth.
But that was one of the more extreme examples. But you had where he had to go to administration, and then the that character actress that always plays weird and quote unquote disgusting
The
women.
old lady, yeah.
And she talks him
admissions.
into
No, he
proposes. Yeah,
he does it to her,
But-
and she takes him up on that and then gives him the proper paperwork.
Yeah,
They didn't have to do that.
exactly.
But aren't you glad we
aren't you glad we
did?
did?
But that's the angle he wanted to take. He didn't want to say, "Isn't there something we could do?" He's like, surely there's. Looks at his crotch extension plan. Yeah, actually there is. Here's the paperwork, but you had to be a dirtbag about
Right.
it. So
I forgot about the entire B story of Tara Reid's character doing the journalistic report. Two things to say about that. One, I didn't think Tara Reid was exceptionally bad. I don't know where she got a bad rap from. I know her from that movie and
that was
from
probably
American
the peak.
Pie.
Yeah, that's probably
Okay,
the peak
the
of her
whole
career
reason
right there.
that people gave her a bad rap is because she was, quote, a party girl.
Yeah.
And everyone that was famous at that point was like, no, I'm saving myself for marriage. Bullshit.
So she,
Oh, they are.
yeah,
That's
so
all
she-
bullshit for
she
all of them.
was
So she was
Lindsay
she
Lohan
was
before
living her
Lindsay
life,
Lohan.
and everyone else fucking made her pay for
Yeah.
it. That's
Yeah,
bullshit.
basically, yeah.
Because I'm trying. I remember now a third thing. Right around that time, she was the fucking girl in Big Lebowski. Like she plays the sweet, innocent, whatever.
looks sweet.
Well, that was
But
before American
that's how they.
Pie, but,
But that's how they cast her. But then it's anti-cast if she's not that person and she's out drinking and partying. Like it's fucking Hollywood and she's
People need to
20
understand
something
Right.
years old. What
that
the
people aren't the
beautiful
characters
young
they
woman.
play.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like
can we talk about Fatty Arbuckle and the parties that he used to throw with all the people? Like when did Hollywood get
Sexist? They've always been sexist.
well, I mean pride prude. When did they get
Right.
prudish?
Honestly, right in like early 2000s to about almost 2010, they were like everyone was huge into like the purity culture.
When shit mags started to really grow, when
Yeah.
the grocery store fucking fluff started to really expand,
Yeah.
and now we get circled
When
asses with.
paparazzi was like
Yeah.
this huge problem in everybody's face.
And then now I
everything
guys like
sucks.
so and so's got cellulite. Like
These people were getting
Oh, they're
socked in
alive?
the fucking-
yeah. Oh, they're human beings. That's good to hear. It's
that
good to
kinda
hear.
calls me
Look at
back
that.
to,
it's achievable.
Yeah, when you just called me back to when I saw this headline that was like, "Oh, this model was saving her child and the nanny from a riptide, but she had a nip slip." And it's
Oh,
like,
fuck the nip
she
slip, you're saving
she
someone's
saved
life.
2 people's lives.
Are you kidding
And
me?
do you think she gives a fuck if she has a nipple out? Purity culture.
The other surprise to me was Curtis Armstrong, and I was like, "Holy shit!" And
Aaron Paul
and
makes,
Thomas, what's his name? Both of them in other recommended movies. Curtis Armstrong is in Revenge of the Nerds.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, so Booger, right?
Booger,
Yeah,
and
he played
then
the security guard.
yeah, that was Aaron Paul.
Aaron Paul.
I couldn't believe that. I was like, "Is that?"
He was
Little
literally
cameo.
in
one
the
of his first
Party
speaking
Games
roles,
thing.
probably.
Yeah. But the other one I'm thinking of is the editor or the chief over at the Journalist and
Oh yeah, from a Dead Man on Campus.
from Dead Man on
Yeah.
Campus. Yeah.
American Werewolf. in
Only a
Paris.
couple.
Scott Everett.
Tom Scott Everett. Yep. So two recommendation alumni from that list made it onto Van Wilder as well.
It was full of tropes. That's another reason it's such a like. If you enjoy those kinds of movies, this movie's for you because it
Yeah,
has
I mean the
those
plot
jokes.
wasn't complicated. It
No,
moved
but
along pretty
it also
quickly.
wasn't cut and dry one of those movies. It had a different plot line. It had a very strong morality of finding
Yes.
yourself. Like they all have that in there, but this one was very like
Well, it was subversive. It was like, okay, this is
he was
what we're going
doing
to tell
so
you.
much
he
for everyone
is.
around him,
Yeah.
but avoiding taking care of himself, and that was the whole point of the journalistic story. Was this guy was like, look, he's a good guy.
So
and
when
he
you
needs
meet-
to figure himself out, so let's.
When you meet Van Wilder, they're really clear about that because he is okay. So for actually, when you first meet him, he is getting a job done and this Asian woman is getting him nice and cleaned up, and you're
really filling out the suit,
implying that she's going down on him, and really he's just getting a hem measurement.
Yeah,
and so
his suit
you know right away what type of movie we're going to be like. Oh, okay, they're going to go there.
Very suggestive. Yeah.
But then from there, he is interrupted because there's a jumper. There's a freshman on this
off the roof.
on the roof of the building. So he goes up there and very non-selfishly talks this kid down, pantsless.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Pan out.
Right, he does try to. He's successful, I would say. If he weren't successful, the kid wouldn't have aimed for the yes,
American
that was.
Pie? Okay.
So let's talk about that. How many pop-ups did you see? There was
goodness gracious,
dude from Big Bang Theory was in there.
Simon Helberg. Yep.
You had
obviously Cal Penn.
Right? We talked
the
about
dude from Breakfast
Curtis
Club.
Armstrong.
Oh yeah,
Which dude from Breakfast Club?
The principal. If you don't get the
Oh,
bully,
yes,
get the
yes,
horse,
yes,
one of
yes,
the
yes, yes,
professors,
yes.
the economics professor. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Oh man, who else did I recognize? Because they're not people necessarily that I would recognize
when
by
he's
name.
doing interviews for his assistant before we meet Taj.
Oh, you talking about Eric Estrada?
Yeah, fixing his toupee. Will there be any international travel? And he fixes his toupee. Hilarious.
Oh god. Yeah, it's just it was a fun movie. I liked it as much as I liked it the first time I saw it. It was one of those movies that I really think if you don't take it too seriously, you can really get the full joy out of it.
Yeah, well,
I wouldn't recommend it to anyone that's 22 or younger.
Right.
Because a lot tend to suck the joy out of it.
Yeah, well,
some do, not all.
College
That's why I said some.
Either,
but you know, don't suck the life out of something that was a product of its
it's
time.
beautiful.
That's
but that's the
line
college
from
age.
the movie.
Yeah,
don't take life too seriously. You never get out alive.
Oh, you'll never get out alive. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Always babbling on.
One last point of interest from the film that really hit me. So I remember I did have that movie on DVD, and the DVD song stuck as soon as it came on.
I'm bouncing off the walls.
That's the one.
Whoa.
So
I had the DVD.
The soundtrack is very representative of
Warp Tour.
The era.
Yeah.
Warp Tour era. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, but I knew that. I remembered that all those songs there were a lot of iconic songs in there, but there were more than I even remembered. There were 3 Jimmy Eat World songs at least in there. And I remembered one of them being in there that was a hit at the time, but there were 2 other ones that I was like, wow, I didn't realize this was. Yeah, so it's just a bedrock of that era's music. So many bangers in there.
Can I say my favorite callback was actually from a separate movie, clearly calling back to Van Wilder, Harold and Kumar.
Yeah.
When he's his nurse and he's blotting him off. Same thing when they're about to, stuff the donuts, if you will.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And he kept cleaning them while he was working. They were working so hard. What was what would be your favorite moment from the film, Liz?
Honestly, I don't know. Give me a second to think about that, because it followed such an atypical college experience underdog thing that it was, I might be the bad guy for saying it, very predictable. But it's always good when
a movie like this
comes out on top.
Before, right?
Yeah, I saw it when it came out in 2002. It is now 2024. So.
Sure.
I wouldn't say, as far as predictable, the types of scenarios they're going to get into. I would say that the plot was unique to that movie as far as the whys and the motivations. The character tropes were definitely there. We had the fraternity, we had the sorority girl who wanted to, just link off of that. And then presumably if you're in a fraternity, you're Ivy League, you're an asshole, your dad is wealthy, you don't need to want for nothing, and you obsess with schooling.
You can only last for 15 seconds.
So,
yeah, right.
So I'll answer the question. I kind of have 2 parts, but I'm going to go with the first one and I'll bring up the second one anyway. But when he has this little feud with the actor, the principal from the economics professor, the guy from Breakfast Club. And he's always stealing his parking spot. So then at one point they go racing for it, and it looks like Van's gonna beat him, but he just stops short. And as the professor turns in, he smacks right into Booger. He's right into the security guard, and he doesn't spill his coffee. But then the airbag goes off, and it just covers him. And the face he makes. Because what golf cart has an airbag?
The number of
that's all I know.
He had all kinds of mirrors on it. Like
he was decked out.
The only thing he didn't have, and it would have been era appropriate, but he didn't have any like spinners or large rims on it.
I think those were on Van Wilder's cart. Because he had a golf cart as well.
I thought that was Van Wilder's cart.
No, that was the security cart.
They did both each have their own. Gotcha.
Yes.
My favorite part was the because for something like this, it would be like, what's the value of the joke for me, right? Sure. We're not talking about a cinematic masterpiece where something was visually amazing. So as far as like the use of the trouble and then the resolution, the topless tutors was hilarious to me because like I still feel like that could be a viable business.
Yeah.
You know, like
because who doesn't like boobs?
Look at today. How many individuals all have secret websites now that they're trying to make money off of, whether or not they are or they're not. They're trying.
Yeah.
And so, you know, why not throw a little flashcard in there?
I mean, I would totally get a service where I could look at some nice boobs if they're showing me flashcards too.
Right, if it helps you learn.
Yeah.
Everybody loves tits.
That's the moral of the story.
Yeah, that's the moral.
Did you think of a favorite one?
My favorite part of that part is the B squad.
Or he's got tired of using the B squad.
Yeah, but then you see them lined up behind this. It's hilarious.
I would say a part that I enjoyed, but it also made me cringe at the same time, just because of my profession, was the Cal Pen trying to get with
lubing her
lady, and if someone puts more than like 8 drops of oil in their hand, I cringe.
Well, everything he was doing was cringeable.
But it called me back when I always told my students, don't turn your client into a slip and slide.
Oh, he did.
And he slides right off.
And starts a fire.
And then burns himself.
Said, "Oh, Lord Jesus, there's a fire." Ain't nobody got time for that.
So that one made me kind of... I would say I enjoyed the movie as a whole, but that made me laugh because it just reminds me of everyday life. Don't turn someone into a slip and slide.
Have either of you seen the sequel,
Yes,
Rise of Taj?
Rise of Taj is
I have not.
Amazing because it takes what Van Wilder was, a great American collegiate comedy, and it takes it to England. And Taj goes to England to his, he's from Bangladesh, but this is his dad's alma mater.
Okay.
Right? So he gets into that for his master's or doctor or whatever, secondary schooling. And
interesting.
He's lumped in with the Outcasts. Even though he's a legacy, they don't let him in because he's strange or brown or whatever.
Sure.
Brown.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's English.
Probably it's English. Yeah. But so they put him in this house with the Outcasts, and
he turns it around.
Yep, he Van Wilders the fuck out of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that summary is enough for me
to worth a watch because
it
is different. It's your same tropes and everything, but it's got the English humor and
somewhat of a different approach.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a worthy successor. Okay, so the opening scene, he's flying over. And he's on the plane, and this MILF hits on him, right? Cougar. And she likes spicy things. She loves Indian food.
Yeah.
Right? So she puts hot sauce on his neck and is licking, and then she's going down on him.
Oh,
putting hot, and he's like, ah!
Oh God!
You got to see it because I'm not doing it justice, but yeah.
That's so
okay.
ill-advised.
Well, that leaves me
Very
wanting.
Ill-advised, yeah.
Ill-advised. That's to say the least. All right. Well, we're going to recommend 12 movies today. We're each going to take 4, and we are going to be talking about. I don't know who knows how the title of this episode is going to end up looking because I'm still trying to figure out it. But basically what we're looking for is movies where the devil or the because depending on the theology of the movie, he's the Lord of Darkness, however it is, whether he's the representation of evil, representation of another place that you go to after death. However, the theological approach is, we all know he's intended to be the devil, Satan. However, they name him, right? Are we all in agreement on that?
I would agree with that.
As far as like drawing a line, like,
because if someone's like, "Because I am the devil." Gotcha.
Right. It doesn't have to necessarily be that, but it could be cleverly written in to where you're like, I wonder if that is, good and evil. Evil is
I definitely
represented.
took it more literal as like somebody actually playing Lucifer,
most of mine were as well, but I didn't know if there were any that I wasn't thinking of that maybe were on
I took it partially literally and partially like, well, what other, where it's kind of hinted that it might be.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to miss on the subversion of some things if a movie really hit it cleverly and like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't let my German side come out too much. I wasn't very literal.
Fair enough. All right. Well, Liz, our guests usually start out for us. So would you like to make our first recommendation, or am I going to put that burden on Joe?
I would. I'm not going to blow my wad on my top choice, but my second top choice, if you will, which is The Prophecy.
The Prophecy.
Which has Christopher Walken, and Viggo Mortensen plays the devil in a scene. And it is such a beautiful monologue that he gives. And
the first time you see Viggo?
Yeah.
Viggo Mortensen, yeah. Oh, man.
And
this is definitely on my list. But I had it for my honorable mentions because I knew this was going to be one of hers.
Just a couple things that he said. One of them is a little more profound. One of them is just kind of chuckly, if you will. The chuckly one is, I can fill your mouth with your mother's feces, or we can talk. But my favorite line that he had said, one of them, which is, I'm not God. God is love. I don't love you. And I'm like, oh. But nice. The whole movie in and of itself is just so beautifully done.
So what is The Prophecy about? Tell us about The Prophecy.
The Prophecy has a couple actual, how sometimes the plot lines fork off.
Sure.
But the main plot is that the Archangel Gabriel is trying to find the most evil human spirit on the planet to create an army and fight against the angels that were on God's side when the other angels had fallen. Because he is really upset that God took the side of humans, or as Gabriel talks about them as talking monkeys. Mm-hmm. And other angels are hiding the spirit, and it's actually really star-studded for its time.
I don't know if they were stars at the time. 95.
No, definitely all became.
Yeah, I mean, stars. Christopher Walken been at it for a good minute, but I think Viggo Mortensen was still making his way. But you got Virginia Madsen, Eric Stoltz.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eric Stoltz.
Amanda Plumer.
Eric Stoltz is the angel that
fucking hides. Adam Goldberg. How young was he in that?
Very. But actually, Eric Stoltz's angel character is the one that hides the most evil spirit from Gabriel and his lapdog.
So it's been a while since I've seen it, and it's not one that I've seen many, many times. It was one that I knew I needed to see, so when I had an opportunity, I was like, oh, I got to see The Prophecy. And I really enjoyed it. But I'm definitely due a rewatch. When I went into it, I was already, because I came into it late, I was already a fan of Christopher Walken, but I was a fan of him from starting on SNL.
Oh, yeah.
Watching a lot of SNL growing up and then making connections and everything I'd seen him in, he was so charming. But whenever you've seen him talked about in interviews where he wasn't present and they were talking about oh my God, that one time I ran into Christopher Walken and he was so scary. And I was like, oh my God. And then I learned that's because of The Prophecy. So I watched The Prophecy and I was like, the fuck is everyone whining about?
Yeah, he's not
scary. So my recollection of The Prophecy and my aim to watch The Prophecy all came to trying to understand why everyone's afraid of Christopher Walken, and so my enjoyment of the movie was a little bit muddled because I wasn't frightened by Gabriel.
I mean, I understood his point.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, I thought he was intimidating, but yeah, Christopher Walken
enough, but not so much that if you see the man on a plane, you're not gonna
No, he's always been the epitome of cool to me.
Right. So, he's the guy who dances in the
cowbell.
Fat Boy Slim
Yeah,
Well,
dude, he killed
He
him.
was on the boat the night that Emily Woods, I believe her name is, disappeared and drowned. But that's the only scary thing I would say about him, because they're like, nobody knows who did what.
Right. I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't have, the way that they were talking about him, it would be akin to the way that someone might talk about Robert Englund, because the only thing you know him as is Freddy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
so
people don't just know him as Gabriel.
Right. So somehow.
I like Robert Englund's zombie strippers, but that's my thing.
All right, moving on, Joe.
Oh, we're gonna go with me. Sometimes you go. So, I'm gonna do a more recent one that I believe we watched recently. 2003's Late Night with the Devil.
Oh, I have not yet had a chance to see that, so I'm curious for you to talk about this.
In 1907, a live television broadcast goes horribly wrong, unleashing evil into the nation's living rooms. Directed
you and I
by
watched that
Cameron
together.
Cranes and Colin Cranes. Yeah. Or Carnes, I don't know how to say this last name, but it was...
It's one of the more talked about movies this year.
It was something.
What is it? Is it shot in a way that it's just through the TV cameras?
No, so it's like...
Because they mention it in
it's
like found footage
documentary style, right?
Okay.
So they have some BTS footage, and then a lot of it is the show cameras, but there's also like guys running around with behind the scenes stuff because it's like alive, never before. So it's very interesting in the take of how they do it, but yeah, it's very much like The Exorcist, right? So like,
okay,
it is the devil coming through this young girl, and it starts with like
and now that he's on TV, he has a chance to
doing a
massively
midnight
communicate
thing,
with
and
the public.
the psychic comes on and does something and winds up connecting with some and like he ends up going through something, and like it's really interesting the way they do it. Like I've never seen a movie shot this way.
The key part that I think that you didn't touch on yet is the fact that they had a skeptic come on, and he's like, oh, well, this is how the psychic did it. This is how this person is doing it. Mm-hmm. And it's
there's someone there to
basically try to debunk things.
Yeah, right.
But what's irritating about, and I'm not saying all skeptics are irritating, but what's irritating about that kind of skeptic is it's like, you clearly don't understand what's going on from a certain aspect. Yes, there are a lot of bullshitters out there, but if you can't explain it other than, well, they got to be doing something.
Yeah.
You're kind of annoying.
Yeah, so that sounds like, it sounds similar to one that Chris recommended back when we had our horror episode, Chris Warren.
And body horror?
No, we did just horror.
Okay.
And he recommended, I believe it was called Ghost Watch. And I ended up watching that because he was staying out of town.
Sure.
So I ended up watching that with him. And it was a very similar, where it was a broadcast on a Halloween night. And then they were catching at a woman's house who had ghosts. And so it was like a live ghost hunter with the news. And they were presenting it like...
well, this was
like I know these are different, and I'm getting to it. Sure. It was presented like what do they call those? Like the telethon type things, where everything was moving studio to studio to studio, including the call centers and stuff, and they would get calls in or whatever. But they also had a skeptic character, and I think that's important for those plots to be able to get.
Of course, because it helps you to explain: is it real or is it not?
In this one that she was talking about, he is. Like
a former cold reader.
Former cold reader, like an imitation psychic, right?
Yeah.
So he's saying, "Oh, this is what they do," and he's a magician, so he's like doing cheap tricks and parlor tricks and stuff, and saying, "Oh, these are all doable because of this and because of that,"
right?
And hypnotism, yeah. So at one point, he hypnotizes the whole audience to see some shit, right? Like improves it. Like, yeah, I can do it to him. I can make all of you believe it. Like, and.
But there are still some people who can't be hypnotized, period. So,
but this little girl is from this cult that and it gets into it. It's I don't want to, no spoilers, but I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I really wanted to watch it this Halloween.
You wanted to watch it on Christmas.
I'll probably at this point gonna have to. But I was doing a lot. Like with my Shudder account, I've been trying to watch a lot of either older stuff that I've missed out on or trying to catch up with some of the new stuff. And that one was talked about so highly that I was like, oh, this one's going to be around a minute. I'll get to it when I get to it. Like, I didn't have to rush to get to it. But now I feel like I need to rush to get to it. Yeah.
I could tell we both, Joe and I, when we were watching it, were really into it because we didn't stop and discuss it at any point. We were just silent watching it.
Interesting. Well, that's what I like. I like being able to be pulled away in the movie.
Now this, I don't know. I use it first because it loosely fits. There's no, aside from the young girl who, while possessed, embodies the devil because it is supposed to be the devil itself, right?
So he uses her like an avatar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Still a body.
I think we're gonna have to count that.
We're counting it because I used it. I'm just saying
we're not going backwards, taking it off.
Breaking your own rules.
No, yeah, I used it first because it was the loosest of that rule.
Sure.
But with your explanation during the episode, I think it definitely counts.
Yeah. I can't add anything else to that because I've not seen him. Liz, anything else you want to add to that?
Nope.
Joe
Either
recommendation.
Be spoiling it. So
yeah, I mean, there's just the way they did it with the practical effects and mixed it with the modern technology. It's seamless. It
almost looked like a oneer. Like one single shot.
Yeah, there's multiple cameras, but the way they cut it, like from one camera to the other, is because they're like it's really beautifully done. It's almost poetic. It's like a dance.
I love that art is starting to make its way more recognizable in the horror genre.
Yeah, me too.
Very much so.
I think, unfortunately, that's probably where the most notable horror movies are going to come from this era.
Acting in this, oh my god,
where it's got to be that
it draws
that
you
top
in
part.
like it's real. Like they're. Not a moment where I don't think these people aren't those characters.
Interesting. Well, I'm going to make my first recommendation.
Do it.
I'm going to start with The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus.
Oh,
man.
Tom Waits.
See, yeah.
Tom Waits
as the devil. That is on my list.
That's on my list too.
I figured it would be on all of them, so that's why I brought it up
Make an
first.
adjustment. So yeah, that was going to be my next one. So good move on you.
So written and directed by Terry Gilliam, who is
I love Terry.
Very, very. He's got his start with the boys over at Monty Python. And we've talked about him before because he did 12 Monkeys. But he did this movie with Christopher Plummer and the late, great Heath Ledger. And there was an original intent with this movie. So when I saw it, it's such a complicated movie that I don't want to mess up the plot. So Liz, if I start screwing this up, course correct me. But Christopher Plummer plays an old aging traveling vaudevillian whose show has a magic bit to it. Like when you see it from the street, it just looks like your regular old vaudevillian show. But there's a secret behind it where and does Heath Ledger work with him?
I think so. See, when I saw it, I've seen it once, and I had a raging case of the flu. So I was like, either this movie's really good or it's
Heath Ledger
really trippy.
plays Tony, a man saved from hanging by Parnassus.
That's what it was.
Okay,
That's what it was. And then he kind of brings him
and
in.
he agrees to help collect them with his eye mirroring.
So every time he goes backstage, I'm just going to call it backstage because I want to be as loose with this as possible. One of the enjoyments of this movie is experiencing it. So I really don't want to give away too much, but I want to sell you on going to see it. Originally, Heath Ledger was going to play, this is how, before you saw the movie, this is what you heard. He was going to play multiple characters. And because he died, they brought in a ton of people. Was it Christian Bale, Colin Farrell?
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt. And they're all playing these characters that originally would have been played by Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
However,
Johnny Depp. And they all
donated their salary.
They all took their minimum SAG and donated the salary to his daughter.
Because he didn't have a will yet.
And the movie wasn't budgeted with multiple actors. Like it was in production when he passed because his role is complete.
It was supposed to be Heath Ledger in all those roles, but with prosthetics on because he's supposed to change appearance.
So I don't remember
not that drastically.
I don't remember how early it's revealed to you. So I don't want to spoil the beautiful end, but I'm going to brevity with Christopher Plummer's character and Tom Waits' character are longtime rivals. And
thousands
there's a
of years.
story developing as far as the why and what's the resolution and so forth. But the beauty of this film is, other than all of the performances, is the imagination that goes into each of these sub vignettes when Heath Ledger's character goes backstage.
And like the transition.
They do, because they do. What Terry Gilliam does is, like, he has, at this point now, this was 2009, he had a lot of resources to his availability as far as the things we've talked about before. CGI, he could be practical, blah, blah, blah. But in each of these worlds, they have different looks. So some of them have very unfinished looks to them. Some of them look like they're just an elaborate stage play. Beautiful. Yeah. And the set design and the production design on this film is so gorgeous.
Outstanding.
And then you spend time in real life, and real life is gorgeous as well. It's in some way, it's Gilliam, right? Gilliam has a real
London
filthy look to it, but in some way always finds a way to make it unique and beautiful.
Yes. Very poetic.
Yeah, I love Terry Gilliam's use of light and shadow, and like his eye for that kind of offset, asymmetrical, but completely gorgeous. Yeah.
It brings you in. It reminds you that you're watching a movie, which a lot of filmmakers don't like to do.
But it's immersive at the same time.
But it's also incredibly immersive. Yeah.
Good choice. Very good choice.
Well, does anyone have anything else to say about the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus?
I mean, not
I'd like to
without
watch it
really
with a clear
spoiling.
head.
I know.
You haven't seen it sober? Oh,
well, I was hopped up on a bunch of flu meds and medicated. In and out.
Right. I mean, I
like,
definitely suggest watching it on mushrooms, but you should probably see it first, or it might freak you the fuck out. But
I would have to agree with that because I was a little tripped out a few times. And
I love Tom Waits and Terry Gilliam and pretty much everybody in this movie, but Tom Waits is second to none in this.
Yeah. That's right. Shines. Young Andrew Garfield. That's who the assistant was.
Yes, young Andrew Garfield.
Vern Troyer. I mean, don't watch it for the actors. Watch it for the acting, because I recall people who I didn't know who they were putting out incredible performances. So, let's cleanse our palates and reassociate ourselves, say a prayer or whatever we need to do to
taking a break.
Invoke the devil. We will be back in just a moment. Ooh, yeah.
You're ridiculous.
Okay. And we're back.
I love you too.
Listen, guys.
Gross.
Stay in control. Okay? Goddamn.
My loins are on fire.
All right. So, Liz, you're going to be picking up the list here with your next pick. Before we get to that, we talked a little bit about what you do at the beginning of the show. Is there a website people can visit to schedule appointments or pick up any products or anything like that? Yes. If they are in the Metro Detroit area or want to make the drive or flight or however they want to come.
Because we're kind of awesome. It's www.justbeneaththeskin.com. You can check out all of our therapists, everything that we offer, specials. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, same name.
Wonderful. Just Beneath the Skin. Excellent. I may forget that and come back and ask you for it again at the end of the show.
Yeah. Foreshadowing.
All right. So, Liz, at the start of the show, we opened up with our first three recommendations. We did The Prophecy, Late Night with the Devil, and The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus.
That's a good list.
How do you want to proceed?
Well, that list is about to get better because I know damn sure this one's on both of yours. There's no way it's not. If it's not, it's going to bother me. The Devil's Advocate.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah. I mean, had we posted an epitome or quintessential, it would have been that. But I felt like this was limited.
I have to talk about this movie. No, I have to talk.
We have to talk about this movie. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought it up, but I was definitely going to.
We will let you open the floor with your wonderful recommendation.
Well, pretty much the reason that I absolutely adore this film is, number one, I think Al Pacino's
GOAT.
The best devil ever.
He's just GOAT.
It's kind of like in and of itself, it kind of talks about the 7 deadly sins without actually talking about them.
Yeah.
Like with greed and lust and all of them.
It flirts with
pride.
Without
pride is my favorite sin.
Yeah. That's
that would be
one I think
vanity.
mentions.
Vanity
is his favorite.
Vanity was the favorite sin.
Get with the program, Brad.
Well, Vanity and Pride, I think, are the same.
Yeah, for sure. They're hand in hand. Yes.
But
So, if you don't know what Devil's Advocate is, why don't you tell our listeners what the Devil's Advocate is?
well, to put it just plainly, the Devil's Advocate has Keanu Reeves playing a small-time lawyer.
Turned the big-time New York litigator.
Is your name Liz? I'm just joking.
Sometimes.
You got to used to this. You got to use this.
You think I'm not after 15 years? So he gets headhunted by a big firm in New York, ends up moving there, gets really close to his boss, who is Al Pacino, and a bunch of weird stuff starts happening within the firm, within his wife's life, and he thinks she's just going crazy, and craziness ensues.
Yeah, she's being messed with and toyed with those sins you were talking about.
Yeah. Basically, she's being gaslit by everyone else around her because even some of her husband's associates are telling her she's crazy because she starts meeting up with the wives. And the wives are telling her that there's, nothing wrong. And then she starts
playing
seeing
mind games.
They start seeing weird shit. She starts seeing weird shit with the wives. If I'm not mistaken, doesn't our boyfriend Delroy Lindo make an appearance in this movie?
Good old Delroy Lindo, yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
he's underground.
He plays the witch doctor.
Yeah.
Man comes through every time. Delroy.
And ultimately, because it's in the title and it's implied, and you go to it, and I don't want to spoil anything, but Al Pacino's character is named John Milton. So if you're in any way familiar with literature, that was also a huge
Like
foreshadow.
if that wasn't a
Huge
giant
foreshadow.
NASCAR red flag. It kind of harkened me back to
Does NASCAR
like
have
a
a red
film
flag?
that you guys did, Cain and Abel.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
At the premiere, I had to use the restroom, come back, and I see these two women chatting, and they're like, he's not going to kill his brother, is he? I'm like, "Ew." And I could not help myself because you both know I kind of have no filter between my brain and my mouth.
One of the many reasons
But
I
here's
love
the
you.
thing. Here's the thing.
It's called
Both
Cain
of
and
them were
Abel.
wearing really big crosses. And I'm like, clearly you are the stereotypical person who don't read their Bible. It's right in there. There's your spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler.
Well, it's Old Testament.
Whatever.
Yeah, I love The Devil's Advocate. The Devil's Advocate came to me. It's a 97 movie, I think. Yeah, 97. It came to me because I was
90s.
in a period where I was just watching anything I could with Al Pacino. Al Pacino is hands down one of my favorite actors. And the way that Keanu Reeves performs in this movie is questionable. But that aside, the rest of the movie is just amazing because it's not a procedural law story. It is
Like the backhauls of it.
It's a story of temptation.
yeah, and it's fascinating. Charlize Theron plays his wife, and that's when I fell in love with her because her performance in that. I feel she's the important character in that movie.
She really is.
Keanu's the lead
Because
the second lead is Al Pacino,
right?
but
Like,
yeah,
it's his other half, and he just
it's really
ignores
her
and
story.
Her loss is really where he's now unretrievable.
Right. And, it goes up there in the vein of like a lot of movies of that period, Seven, and like they're not the same type of movie, but they reach into areas that previously we hadn't really gone into.
Right.
My
In
favorite.
different forms of morality
Yeah.
and what would be considered evil, what's not. It's all subjective.
Yes. And then Al Pacino, again, I was binge watching Al Pacino stuff. He was always well known for having some sort of great monologue, and his monologue in The Devil's Advocate is one of the greatest.
It is.
Absolutely
hands
one of the
down
greatest.
one
And
of my favorites of
when they
his.
film it in his office and like it starts getting surreal with the artwork behind him,
That was cool.
It's
dude.
just
On
so
scene in
haunting.
cinema at that time, like that was.
it's not a horror movie, but it's haunting.
Very much so.
That back painting coming to like the marble movie that was reminiscent to me of What Dreams May Come.
Sure.
You know what I mean, like,
Yeah.
that's the only time I'd seen anything like that, and the fact that they kind of represented the same space, like they were both representing hell. So
Right.
it was very, very poetic.
And Pacino has a couple good monologues in that film. Like
several.
The last one is the best one, but
of course,
there are there's like 2 or 3 other ones.
The one where they're like walking through the streets and down into the subway.
Yeah.
He's trying to convince him why this job is best for him. That's good too.
Yeah. Well, he embodies what is the devil and, like you said, temptation and deception, and
does it effortlessly.
He makes it smooth like butter, which is the scary part of it, right? Because that he doesn't.
Yes.
We experience that in real life, and not everybody that you run into that does that is the devil incarnate. They're just, I guess, the devil inspired.
If you think about it,
he arrogantly tells you how smooth he is, and then there's a couple scenes where you just like see him slide his fingers up this girl's skirt and laugh about it, and then she just slides under the table, and he's like,
yeah,
he's walking.
So
she's
vile.
trying to walk.
He's so vile in that, and I love it.
No, what I liked about it is that mainly he's telling you with every line who he is.
Yeah.
He's telling you about the deception. He's telling you about the vanity. He's telling you about all of the temptations he's trying to put in front of your face. And even like questioning your vanity by saying, oh, I'm taking you off this case. Mm-hmm. To see if you'll double down or if you'll actually do the right thing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, did I lie? No. Mm-hmm. The devil's a liar. No, not necessarily.
Some of the visual effects in that movie, there's a lot of in-camera visual effects, and being that it was in '97, I'm very curious how they did it, whether or not it was CGI. Like when Charlize Theron is in the clothing boutique and
the demon faces and stuff,
and the hands all over their body,
because surely that was shot on film. Was that a film technique? Was it
right? Did they do
other like who knows?
Prosthetic bladders in there, or was it a combination?
Right? Yeah.
I'm very curious.
I know, like when they did the faces, there was no way it was a bladder. You know what I mean? So like I actually saw it on the skin of some of these women. Yeah. So it had to be some sort of CGI married with, but it could be a film technique.
I don't know. I'm curious.
Distorted.
Well, Joe, what do you bring to our next discussion?
I would like to before we move on. Liz was saying something right there at the end. Do you remember what your point was?
You want to refresh me?
Okay. What was it? I guess we can move on. I'm trying to remember what it was about. Kind of like you were hinting towards the psychology of it, like where he's telling
the morality and whatnot.
Yeah, where he's telling you who he is in everything that he does, without flat out saying it. But it is quite literally. If you're familiar with literature, where his name is John Milton and all this stuff, where the devil is there to show you temptation, not to tell you which way
you
to
make
go.
your own decisions.
Yeah,
because he even says in the ending monologue, free will, it's a bitch.
It's a bitch, yeah.
Because all he's doing is telling you what's possible.
He's presenting an opportunity.
And you can choose good. Mm-hmm. But look at all this temptation.
Yeah.
Look at all these options.
Yeah, I think the writing in the movie was brilliant.
Evil, or is he just showing you how evil
so
you are?
I am curious to add this to my reading list, but apparently it's based off of a novel. So I'm going to look for that.
Okay, cool.
I remember that. I don't know if it's of the same name or
I don't either. The author is Andrew Niederman, but it doesn't say next to it, just says novel. It doesn't say the title of the novel. So I would assume it's of the same name because ordinarily
got two problems with that. Number one, how dare you?
Right.
And number two, just tell us the name of the damn book.
Well, for my next pick, both these are on the list, but one of them, I'm deciding, do I stick with one of them has an actor from our last suggestion and one
Quit pulling on my dick. What's your pick?
Okay, we're gonna
the two of you are the same. I like preamble. Let him preamble.
We're gonna go with the one that takes us away from the actors, because we'll come back to it, I'm sure. Because if it's not on mine, it's already on mine. It's probably on one of yours.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with 2000's fantasy comedy starring Brendan Fraser and Elizabeth Hurley, Frances O'Connor, all bedazzled people, bedazzled, where Elizabeth Hurley plays the devil. And it's, to sum it up, desperate to gain the affection of a beautiful co-worker, Elliot, Brendan Fraser. Sorry, Brendan.
It is Brendan.
Brendan Fraser. I'm looking right at it. I'm just... Anyway,
it's okay. Most people get his last name wrong.
Right. Straight, and I've seen that SNL skit. I'm not trying to piss off the mummy. Okay. All right. So, anyways, Elliot trying to gain the affection of his beautiful coworker, strikes a deal with the devil, Elizabeth Hurley, to drop a drop-dead gorgeous woman with a wicked sense of humor. In exchange for Elliot's soul, she will grant him 7 wishes, but with each wish he gets more than he asked for. And this is the classic, be careful what you wish for.
Right.
And be specific with what you want.
Because
if you leave room for interpretation, boy, does she have some fun.
That kind of reminds me of nowadays when people are about more like the metaphysic and manifestation. And it's like, be so specific. I cannot stress that enough because people are like, well, I wanted this. And it's like, but did you say specifically how, when, where, why? What the thing is, be specific.
And what's crazy
if you leave it open to interpretation, the universe is going to bend you over.
That story trope is used in movies, books, and cartoon episodes throughout my entire life, and yet somehow, as people, we still don't. I can recall.
Yeah, we just don't get.
I can recall like
right
Bugs Bunny storylines like that. There's an X-Files storyline like that. There's, Aladdin, for Christ's sake. Like
it's one of the.
But one of our more common mistakes.
Ever told. Every generation has its iteration.
Big? That's what big is?
Yeah.
I want to be big. Oh, okay. You want to be old? We'll make you old, fucker.
Because everyone wants to, like in everyday conversation, everyone wants to argue semantically until it comes to something that they want for themselves or they don't want for themselves. Be more friggin' specific.
Yeah. I thought that movie was a lot of fun. I didn't see it. Wasn't one I rushed to see when it was in theaters, and then
it takes that classic trope that we've all seen done, and instead of doing a little tongue in cheek or hinting at it, it's right in your face about it. It's very flamboyant, and it's just so much fun.
He wakes up one day and he speaks Spanish, and then he's like, "Oh wait, I do speak Spanish." It was.
No, thank you. I'm allergic to shellfish.
It's very tongue-in-cheek fun. Like you can't take it too seriously, but at the same time, at its core, it's got something serious to say. Yeah, I had it on my list as well. It's definitely one that I figured it had to be. It's actually, did you know?
It's a remake.
It's a remake from 1967.
1967. Yeah, I didn't know that it had been made before, but this one, it was for our generation, and I hadn't seen the original, but I was aware of it. Yeah, I didn't know. And yet, the cover looks damn near the same. And it's got, who's in this? Watch it be Elizabeth Taylor.
Dudley Moore. No, Raquel Welch plays.
Raquel Welch.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was gorgeous.
And Peter Cook. But, here's the thing. This isn't ready information for me. Like,
and the way films
how come this was you can't be mad at me for not knowing about
I'm not mad at you.
I'm not saying you. I'm talking the world.
He's talking the royal you.
The royal you, yeah.
From what I understand, if you saw the 60s version first, you're going to like that one more. If you saw the 2000s version, you're going to like that one more.
Just looking at the cover, it looks pretty, exactly. Just with newer technology and opportunity.
Yeah, so it's just not going to have what is going to impress you. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to be like, okay, could I see this story today? And I recommended that one instead.
Fair enough. All right, so I am going to make my recommendation, and
I'm sure if you like old movies, it's a great old movie.
I was hoping it was going to be Michael Caine, but Dudley Moore is good too.
I love Dudley Moore.
Yeah,
Michael Caine in the 60s would never do something like that.
No, that's not true. He did. Is it Alfie?
Alfie, yeah.
Yeah, which was also then remade.
Terribly. You saw the boom mic in almost every scene.
Oh, now I have to watch it.
Was it Alfie or Arthur?
Arthur, yeah. The one that what's his name ended up being
Jude Law.
Yeah.
No, that's Alfie.
That is Alfie.
Arthur was Russell Brand.
So I am confused.
For the remakes.
I don't know.
Dudley Moore was Arthur. There it is.
So there's the connection.
Boom.
All right, but from 1968.
1968.
I didn't want to step on your bars.
I was done.
Okay. From 1968, from I guess much maligned filmmaker now. It is kind of weird to mention his name, but this film by Roman Polanski is a stunning, beautiful masterpiece of the era, and that's Rosemary's Baby.
Oh, yeah.
Rosemary's Baby was one that I've known about for a very long time. I don't know why I never really had love for Mia Farrow, but that was misplaced because Mia Farrow is fucking not only gorgeous in this movie, but
she's a very good actress.
So fucking
fabulously
good.
talented, yes.
And what I find amazing about this movie, so they're doing, I don't know if it's released yet or it will be, but there is a TV series coming out or a new movie based on this.
I've heard of something.
It takes place beforehand. So it's called Apartment, whatever her apartment is, and there was stories because this happens a lot.
Yeah,
but what Rosemary's Baby is about is a young couple moving into a new apartment, and it's in New York with one of those, what do they call it, the lockdown, whatever. Like they got a damn good deal, and you get to live there forever.
Rent control.
Yeah, rent control.
And her husband leaves a lot, and she ends up, because it's the late 60s and women have one job and it's to produce children. That's what she's doing. And things start to go awry and weird, and she meets her really cool neighbors, but things she starts to notice she has questions about, and everyone around her tells her she's fucking crazy. So
that's the epitome of gaslighting to me in the movie Gaslighting.
That's what I was going to say. This movie, when I got done watching it, I was like, this is not a horror movie. This is a gaslighting tutorial.
Yeah.
Pretty much. But
for that reason, that's what made it terrifying. And what was more terrifying for me, truthfully, was the fact that I had to ask myself, back then, was all this accepted? Like, I'm looking at this like, okay, these people are, I don't want to give away who's evil and whatever, but she's being fucking abused. Yeah. Was this normal? Is this just expected? What?
Kind of.
That's let's just awful. Say at that point in time, when was this released?
68.
Again? Women weren't allowed to own their own property or have a bank account.
No bank account.
Or have a credit card. So, apparently us and our pea-sized brains wouldn't be able to handle anything other than
at this time,
child rearing and being gaslit.
If you had a woman that was being mistreated and she spoke up about it, she could be admitted for hysteria. She could be admitted for hysteria for masturbation. Yeah, this is the time. It was insane.
Yeah, it's disgusting. So, Rosemary's Baby, how does the devil come into play here? The devil appears to her in a dream, and I don't want to say too much more than that. Because the plot grows, and
it's a slow burn.
You probably already know what it's about, but if you don't, then I don't want to ruin it.
Yeah.
But yes, the devil's involved.
Devil's involved.
It's a psychological horror, psychological drama, and it's really fucking good.
It is.
It's worth a watch. Very much so.
It is beautifully done cinematically. It's poetry.
I'm guessing the reason why it's being redone, because like other movies that were psychological thrillers and what have you from its time, are very much a slow burn that you have to pay attention to. And most people anymore have the attention span of a piece of toast.
Right. So if they're going to do a slow burn plot, they need to make it a visually series. Stunning or make it a series with some cliffhangers in them.
Well, my presumption that the show or movie or whatever it is in some way ties up into the back end of, or the starting of Rosemary's Baby. Right? Probably. Okay. Yeah, because it is a prequel.
Right. Yeah. But then they're going to have to remake the movie because people...
Yeah, they set it up to be remade if they did it that way.
Yeah, they could. Should they?
They don't have to.
Should they?
But they will.
They will.
No, they should.
Like
if it does well, they will.
That's exactly... There's the...
You were focused so much on if you could. Yeah. You didn't focus on if you should.
Exactly.
Why do we keep going back to Jurassic Park?
Because it's quotable.
All right.
It's Jeff Goldblum.
Liz,
it's fucking Jeff Goldblum.
Number 7. What's our next recommendation?
This one I absolutely adore. Did you want me to pull up the synopsis for it? Because
if you want to read it,
I mean, if you want to read it, you can also just tell us what it's about. Story. Joe likes to read it.
Okay, I'll go ahead and pull it up.
It prevents me from doing spoilers.
The one that, actually, that's very, that works.
What's the title?
Sorry, The Ninth Gate.
The Ninth Gate. Also,
Johnny Depp. What year was
that? 1999.
That's back to back. That's back to back. Roman Polanski.
Well, we won't hold that against ourselves.
No, we won't.
So, Johnny Depp's character plays plays a book dealer, and he specializes in tracking down extremely old, exotic, rare, first edition copies of books that people are up in arms about. And he gets asked to do a very specific book, and there's a lot of just people all seeking out this book for various different reasons, but mostly that it's a book that was somehow penned by the devil. And he's just searching for it, and people are trying to look for him, trying to track him down, like different cult things going on there. And there is a character who they don't outright say this character is the devil, but it's so implied it's dripping with it. It's just a very well done movie.
I remember seeing that back in the time. That was
I loved it. Yeah.
I think a Johnny Depp influenced watch. I was like, oh, Johnny Depp, okay.
I think we have it on DVD, and you might have
If I
watched it at our
remember,
house.
oh no, I've seen it way before that.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Definitely seen it
wondering.
at my house.
I'm wondering if it's very similar in like the investigative tone, right? Like
Yeah.
his plot as he moves forward, it's moving forward in like a
Yeah, he's a rare book finder, and so
right. So
he's
Wait.
basically an investigative.
I totally
reporter.
forgot the main part of it. It's
What?
that one of his clients has a copy of a book that is believed to be the only copy in existence, and he sends them out to make sure that other copies are just copies, not the original.
Right, but
So that's
he does
my brain fart.
find out that there's 3 real copies. Boom, boom, boom.
Spoiler alert.
That's not a spoiler. That's just a little taste act 1.
all right.
But
So
I
the
do
ninth
love the
game-
occult part of it, where like some of the drawings in the book are like definitely inspired by the major arcana of tarot.
Yeah.
Like they literally have a hanged man, like from his foot.
I love its commentary on just how kind of bored, wicked, or crazy rich people are.
Yeah.
Like just the economic separation.
I started
of-
hunting humans for sport. It's okay, I pay their family very well. But yeah, that's definitely one that's worth a watch if you haven't seen it, or a second watch if you've only seen it once. Or
Yeah,
100 times.
it's a good one.
Yeah, it's one I have to revisit because I have only seen it one time. All right, Joe.
Okay, so I mean, I'm looking at my list here, and I'm a little torn because there are ones that I was sure were going to be mentioned by y'all, and I'm not sure if they're going to get mentioned now, and I don't know if I just want to do honorable mentions for those or the ones that I had chosen that I thought maybe would be looked over. I've already had a couple audibles, so y'all have picked some of the ones that I wanted to make sure were picked, but I'm a little on the fence. I'm not sure where you're going next.
Just go with it.
So I'm not sure where you're going.
Go with the flow, Joe.
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna do the Witches of Eastwick
That is on my list.
on 1987. So 3 small town friends, Alexandra, played by Cher, Jane, Susan Sarandon, and Suki, by Michelle Pfeiffer, are each having lost the man in their lives, are feeling unfulfilled until a furtive stranger, Daryl Van Horn, played by the one and only Jack Nicholson, arrives and begins courting each of them in turn. Eventually, Daryl tells them that they are witches, but as the 3 friends spend more time at his mansion, enjoying themselves and learning about their powers, they begin to worry about Daryl's ultimate intentions. And obviously, Jack Nicholson is playing the devil.
They quite literally
That's a
call
great
him
job.
Horny Devil like a million times in that movie.
Directed by George Miller, screenplay by Michael Christopher. Boy, what a ride.
I've not seen that movie. It's I don't know why I haven't. It just hasn't come across my plate. I don't know much about it.
It's just amazing performances. It's a great story. Again, temptation. And
I
the
do
devil.
like that George Miller directed it. He hasn't done a whole lot, outside of Mad Max. The only thing other thing I know of that he did was Babe.
It is very...
That'll do, pig.
That'll do, pig. That'll
From
do.
what I remember of it, because I haven't seen it in a long time, it's very, like... Oh my goodness gracious, the word is escaping me. Like,
Avant-garde?
The very heavy, like, speaking to each other, very driven by their interaction. Like, the way that they're talking.
It's exposition driven.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Brain fart.
Okay.
It's driven by the dialogue.
It's listed on
you have to listen, you have
IMDb
to pay attention.
as a dark comedy, witch horror, fantasy. Does it lean more towards comedy or horror?
I would say dark comedy.
It definitely does lean towards the dark comedy. But yeah, it
embraces
fantasy.
it embraces itself as a comedy.
Yes, it does. It's tongue in cheek. They're funny, but it's sophisticated at the same time. It has this wit about it,
and does look very 80s too. So I'm on board. I would definitely like to check this one out.
Yeah, I mean, there's like 4 big powerhouses in that film alone.
It's the acting alone. I mean, if you love these actors and you've never seen this movie, you will love them in these performances. Their talent shines. They all complement each other very well. It's good storytelling.
Because honestly, I feel like Cher doesn't get enough credit for the fact that she's actually a very good actress.
Well, she
That's fair.
didn't pick the best roles, but this one worked for her.
Yeah, I mean, my experience with her is she's okay. So I guess I don't have a point of reference to say that.
Look, Eric
she's
Stoltz
not.
killed it in The Mask. She was okay.
I thought she did great in
She
that
did
film.
great, but she could have been.
I liked her in Mermaids.
Mermaid.
That's one I've not seen either. All right, so
You see Christina Ricci being like 8 years old. Like much younger even than when she was in Addams Family.
I mean, Jack Nicholson played, is basically one of the coolest guys on the planet, and he plays the devil. You got to see, we have such a list of devils here, guys. We got Tom Waits, we got Jack Nicholson, we got the GOAT Al Pacino. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. All right, I was very excitedly going to mention a movie here, but doing a little work ahead, I guess it is rentable. So if it's rentable, I'm good to go. We've had a run lately of movies that are not available.
I don't even make it a factor. Maybe I should.
I mean, you don't have to. I was going to. Regardless, my next recommendation is going to be from 1999. It's a seminal movie in all of filmography, and I feel like every film that's been made after it has been incredibly inspired by this particular pick because of how artful it is in all of its delivery. And that's South Park, Bigger, Longer, Uncut.
Oh, man. Okay. Yeah. No, I knew you were going to do that one. I didn't even put it on my list. It's honorable mentions, of course, because it is great.
Here's the, I listen.
Who voices the devil in that?
It's one of the two of them. I think it's...
Okay, it's Trey.
Yeah, it's very likely Trey.
Trey Parker.
Trey
Matt
Parker,
Stone.
yeah.
I always mix them.
Is it terrible that I haven't seen that film?
Ever? It's not terrible, but ever? You've never seen the film?
I don't believe I have. If I did, it was kind of like I'm doing laundry and it's on.
So that's perfect. You said that because that's why I wanted to talk about it. So this movie has qualified in a lot of different types of suggestive type topics that I've heard in other podcasts or read in other articles and listicles, and people want to just avoid it. Like, I'm like, damn, why didn't they mention South Park? And I think they don't mention South Park because it's that foolish little TV show that's on Comedy Central. And I think
it's probably because it's potty humor and they think they're above it.
Well, so that is the general gist of what people believe South Park to be, is just potty humor. And it's not. And it's so much deeper than that. And with this movie specifically, so what I love about South Park is they take their children, right? And so with the main characters being children, they can pretend like, okay, these guys don't know because they're kids. And they can talk about things that adults in real life also don't fucking know about.
Yeah.
And talk stupidly about and ignorant about. And then they're sitting here laughing. That's what I used to love about The Simpsons when I was a kid. I'm laughing. I'm watching my dad laugh. And I'm like, bro, he's making fun of you. Like, this is what's happening right now. And I think South Park is very, very smart in that. So what South Park Bigger, Longer, Uncut covers is the censorship of television.
I remember that's what it was.
Yeah.
So that's the main driving plot. But it's also 1999. We are on the cusp of like the very end of the Desert Storm, is also with
the height of South Park's success.
In the height of new things coming in the political horizon.
Yeah.
And we're talking a lot about censorship at the time. We're talking about violence in video games.
And parental advisory stickers.
Correct.
And what it should be on, what shouldn't be on.
Explicit content.
What ultimately they're saying is, well, parents could just fucking be parents and monitor their children. But instead, in the movie,
that's too difficult.
in the
Did you know
movie,
that,
the mothers are against it, and so that's Mothers Against Canada, I believe, and they start a whole coalition. They start blaming Canada because Canada puts out Terrence and Phillips, which is a South Park like show. It's a South Park type show that. They want to stop showing this to our children. It's affecting them and blah, blah, blah. And so then the United States goes to war against Canada, which should be like,
it's hilarious.
Wild, right? But along the way, there's still all kinds of different in-jokes and small, it's not like Family Guy where things get too tangent, but because it's a whole movie as opposed to one single episode, they're able to cover a lot. And the devil is a full-on character from the show. And, he is like, once the spill of the Canadian is spilled on the blood of the Americans, and like he gets to rise and then it's just, it's a whole fun, because the war never should have happened. It should have been
part of the
it's the safe prophecy.
Of Satan. Yeah.
It's a tale as old as time, parents blaming any form of media other than taking personal responsibility for it.
Right.
And also, just to put a note on that, to not understand, even though you were a kid at one point too, children aren't given enough credit of what they understand and what they can.
Right. And that's really what Trey
can
Parker and Matt Stone are getting at. Is that the ignorance of your children is the second coming of Satan.
And the fact of the matter is, like, they even go so far as, because they're always good at this, but they even go so far as to call the parents out at one point, because the kids go to see a movie that is awful. And the ticket guy is like, well, where are your parents? And you shouldn't be going to see this. And I'm sitting here thinking like, well, damn, I'm 99, I'm 17, not yet 18, right? I'm old enough, that's fine. But I'm looking around and there were definitely children younger than me in there. So
their parents were taking
real
them to see
life
the South Park movie
happening right in front of me. And I'm like, well, this movie's stupid. It's like, look around you. Like, who's stupid? Who is actually stupid here? And that's what I find so brilliant about them. But this movie is highly recommended because of that. Because if you've not given the show a look because you think it's just stupid humor, like,
I'm telling you, there's satirical though.
I'm telling you, there's some
and layered satire.
Deeply
layered.
Yes, and if for whatever reason you don't know how to find the clitoris, by the end of the movie you will.
All right, guy.
I have hope for those who can't. And I weep for their partners.
Buddy guy.
Don't call me buddy guy. I'm not your guy, buddy. 1999, South Park, Bigger, Longer, uncut.
Very, very good choice.
I guess I have to watch that.
And this will be Liz's final, right?
This is going to
bring it home. Yeah. Doesn't have to be your top pick. We don't do,
there's no
top
order
10.
to it. Yeah.
It is your last chance, though.
Well, I'm pretty sure this one might not be on your guys's, so I'm just going to go with it.
I hope not.
Which was a more recent film, Heredity.
Okay, yeah. Obviously, I did think about putting that on the list, but I figured
this is the one with what's her name?
I figured you would bring it. Yeah, what is her name? It's one of your favorite actresses.
Yeah, but my brain is farting like crazy today. That's why so I'm pulling it up.
Well,
so tell me about it. I'll look it up.
United States of Terror.
Yes, her.
She's been in
Toni Collette.
Toni Collette.
She's been in so much. What did we just see her in? That she was seriously young. Legends of the Fall.
No,
not that.
We watched that after I was watching The Velvet Goldmine.
The Velvet Goldmine. Yeah.
Holy cow!
I love that movie.
Yeah, I noticed that just got put up on one of those streaming services.
Wife.
So I posted it the other day. The Velvet Goldmine is up. You're welcome.
Yeah.
But back to my actual film. It's she plays a mother of two kids, and she's an artist. And it starts off with them going to a funeral, and she's just trying to live her life, and just a bunch of weird stuff from her mother dying is coming up, and her one child is special needs, and just the best way I can describe it is that she just meets these people who are pretending that they want to help her get through the loss. And I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
Full disclaimer: this movie is disturbing.
It is so layered.
That's what I hear. That's what I hear.
So good.
It's so layered. And what I love about this is, because Joe could tell you this, I cannot stand when a film slaps you over the head with a sledgehammer with its foreshadow.
Sure.
Or when it does the, oh, I see this specific like happening, and then they jump back and do the whole scene over
like when
again.
they
Don't relive it, because if you're paying attention,
I don't want to see the same.
So I agree with you, but I do mildly
saw before.
that. Like, I don't need to see the same thing again.
She hates the flashback foreshadow.
Okay,
and I hate it too.
It depends on how it's used. There's definitely ways that it's inappropriately used. Off the top of my head, I can't think of one where it's appropriate.
There's a couple,
because like we just watched The Perfect Stranger or The Perfect Toast.
Yeah,
and that had a lot of flashback, but that was done.
But those were needed for the. But she still would have hated it. She said, "Well, why didn't you know that? Like, are you paying attention? You would know." She just won't stomach those, and I don't blame you. It's very seldom that those are done in a way that is.
Sure, it can be. Yeah, it can be misused. Agreed.
I just notice a lot of misuse of it.
And they don't use it in Hereditary.
They don't.
Okay.
They don't.
They don't at all. None of that. Like, it's very subtle. Like, the closest thing you'll get is like they'll stop a shot on a door handle, and the next shot where the thing's going to happen picks up on the door handle. You know what I mean? Where it's like a camera tracking or something instead of actual like in your face.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I was going to say something and I lost it. What was the question again, so that I can?
Do they use that the type of foreshadowing that you do not like? Do they use it?
They don't at all. And what I like about it is that it is done in such a way that's so layered that you know while it's coming through, and the film itself is so captivating that a little part of your brain goes, "Oh, that's important," and then it just keeps going, and then you see it later, and you're like, "I knew that was important."
Interesting. Yeah, I've not seen a lot of Ari Aster's films. The one I did see was Midsummer. I didn't really care for it, but Hereditary has been highly recommended, and I just haven't gotten to it because it was. I believe it's A.
The Midsummer
can't
was
be
great
A24
visually, and
I think
I can understand why people like it.
It's not available on Max though, so
it wasn't really for me either.
Yeah, and this one is
Hereditary. Oh man,
so built up. Like I already know that Toni Collette is a great performer, and so to find out that she's the best part of the movie is simultaneously exciting and diverting, because I'm like, well, what else is there? Like, what is it? Like, oh my god, her scream is just so, and I'm like, but you just gave me a reason to watch the movie because you gave me a little bit better of the plot outline and my understanding of what's going on.
What I do like about it as well is it takes a lot. It takes a lot to disturb me. Like, I can see a lot of things and be like, whatever.
Gabriel Byrne, does he play?
He plays her husband, and he is very
wicked?
subtle. No, he's just a father that's at his wit's end with a lot of things, just trying to hold his family together.
he does an amazing job. Yeah.
He does a very sorrowful, subtle. Like, I'm just trying to be the man I'm supposed to be.
Quick dad joke alert. Does the movie pass the Bechdel test?
The Bechdel test?
You don't know? Do you know what the Bechdel test is?
It sounds familiar, but
Oh my God.
I can't.
Okay, so for you guys and for our listeners,
it's my Sunday, okay?
the Bechdel test is the test that a script is put through as to whether or not women are there just to move the plot forward for man. And there are requirements that women have to have conversation with other women that doesn't include men.
It passes the Bechdel.
It does pass. Okay. The reason I asked,
if anything, men are seriously in the background.
This
is the reverse Bechdel test.
There's an
men
actress here. Her name is Mallory Bechtel. So I just wasn't sure if the test was also passed.
Yeah, I would say reverse it because
I alerted you. I said dad joke.
I just almost spit my drink on the microphone, Bradford.
But it takes a lot to disturb me, and I had such a visceral reaction to a part of it because the way that it's shot is nothing is grotesque and in your face. It's very implied by what you're hearing, like the build up of suspense.
It hits your senses.
Yeah, to the point where
gory.
I went downstairs to join your guys' little party after you wrapped on a film, and you're like, "It's 3 a.m. What are you doing down here?" I'm like, "I just had a visceral reaction to a film. I needed to calm down."
And that was
what it was.
If you need to come down, you come down and see us, and
down in the basement bar. Yeah,
we'll redirect your feelings. All right, Joe.
It's that time of the month.
It's that time of the hour.
Our weekend. Okay.
Both y'all having some Sundays.
Yesterday, what? Okay, so I've got a few here, and I'm seriously torn because if I had left Wishes of Eastwick off, that probably would have been your next one, right? So I don't know where to go.
Just pick one.
I mean, it could also be that we're all in the same position.
And we all are.
Whatever you play will help me adjust what.
That's fair. That's fair, I guess. We got honorable mentions coming up, and I just got to shout out some of my favorite people in the world here. This is Tenacious D and The Pick of Destiny, 2006 comedy musical. And if you don't know, you should, but I'll tell you anyway. So, musicians JB, Jack Black, and KG, Kyle Gass, begin a friendship that could lead to the formation of the greatest rock band in the world.
There is no could. They are the greatest rock band.
That's right. To make that dream come true, the righteous duo embark on a quest to find a legendary guitar pick that possesses supernatural powers from the devil.
I feel like a terrible human being because I have not seen this movie.
Really? You're missing out.
What?
I just know the film from Brad doing the song for karaoke.
Hell yeah.
I have watched this movie in front of you.
Have you been in my brain and how many things are going on in it at once?
Listen, you need to just take a break from your brain and check this movie out. Although they don't make it easy. Yeah, you can buy it. Hopefully, you can rent it. It has on Apple TV.
It has Ronnie James Dio as Ronnie.
Meatloaf.
It has Meatloaf as Bud Black, his dad, and Dave Grohl as Satan. I mean, how do you?
Okay, you've convinced me.
Yep. You didn't know that Dave Grohl played Satan?
I think I knew, but I just object.
I'm the devil. I can do what I want. Whatever I got, I'm gonna flaunt. That's Dave Grohl.
There's never been a rock off that
I've ever lost.
I think I just foreshadowed karaoke there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, Tenacious D, Joe, was definitely going to be mentioned if you didn't mention it. Because, it's a...
And I'm more curious what you pick out of my other choices.
Yeah, no, I'm not mad about it. I'm glad you picked it. So, because I picked South Park, so I couldn't just,
That one I was going to
He's got to end strong.
Right. Yeah, no, Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny, it didn't do well in theaters. And I think I've seen Tenacious D live, and it's irritating, not the band, but the people that go to see him, because all they want is just play tribute. And they're playing all these other bangers that
they have so many good songs. And a lot of them are from the movie. But them as a music group, they had albums before that movie came out.
The movie it's one of those movies that, I mean, I don't even know where the inspiration came from. Monty Python. It takes place in a world that isn't real. It's
kind of the story of them finding each other as friends.
It's a road trip
totally dramatized and slapstick.
It's a road trip / fantasy, darkness, devil,
Tim Robbins
comedy.
plays
Tim
one
Robbins
of the
is
funniest thieves I've ever.
It's not parody to the level of Airplane, but somewhere in between a serious comedy and Airplane.
Yeah,
right? You can't.
It's up there with.
You
Monty
have to be
Python
forgiving. We're talking about
tongue in
a
cheek
pick
is
that is, Ben Stiller as the Guitar Center fucking employee. It's just
Ben Stiller kills me, and I'm not a Ben Stiller fan.
Okay,
I don't hate him. But.
It's like Dodgeball, right? Or Wet Hot American Summer. It's that type of comedy where you just have to have fun.
It was
the music is good.
Classic.
The jokes are funny.
So seriously.
Yeah, 100%. So I would second the Tenacious D, and I highly recommend, Liz, that you get on that shit.
Yeah.
I will get on that.
I
get on that shit.
Wow. No.
Hey,
Are you thinking about divorcing me now because I haven't seen Tenacious D?
No, it's not that serious.
Well, it's also easily remediable as long as it's available online, right?
Yeah,
That is true.
So, we are here at the end here, and I was going to mention Tenacious D, but
Move Steel.
Because it was mentioned already, I think I'm going to go with John Carpenter's The Prince of Darkness.
That was a good one.
Okay. All right. That's not where I saw it going, but it's a good one.
Did I subvert?
Yeah, I should have won.
That's all right.
He had a trick up his sleeve.
Yeah. I'm going to guess what you think that I was going to do, and I decided not to. We'll talk about that after I talk about The Prince of Darkness.
That sounds fun. No, this is a great movie.
So The Prince of Darkness is part of his named trilogy. I forget. I think The Thing is part of it, and maybe In the Mouth of Madness.
Yes.
Either way, they're unrelated movies that just get put together. This particular one is fun. Some of my favorite John Carpenter movies are movies that take place in like one isolated area, not necessarily as bottle pieces.
Right, and those
but
three movies that you're saying, they're isolated areas, but of the same world.
Right.
Since they have no actually contact with each other in the stories.
So this is there's a bunch of graduate students and a scientist, and they come across this giant canister that's just gross and green and glowing, and they are studying it, and they house it in this church, right? It's an abandoned church. That's kind of where they're hanging out. And basically, it goes into kind of what our theme was a couple weeks ago with Man Playing God. They instead of just letting shit be, they need to fuck with it and release what is essentially a demonic spirit of sorts, but it is it's evil incarnate. It's the capturing of what is, and then it just from there it becomes all John Carpenter.
The soul of the devil.
People get possessed, but there's.
Yeah. What I enjoy about movies like that, in a way, is it's kind of like a slap on the wrist to like scientists. It's like, if you would have stopped studying it, none of this would have happened.
Right.
Just test the outside of the container. You had to fucking open it.
But I think what's really cool about it also is
Pandora's
because
box theory.
Yeah, and you're putting these people in a situation that, in regular world isn't really possible, so we think. But if you stop for a minute,
have you seen what they're doing in Egypt?
So, well, a whole separate topic. We got to talk about some of the alien shit they've been talking about. But anyway, it's about not letting things be. But excuse me, I had a little gas. But also the idea of our curiosity.
Because human beings are in and of themselves
because if
curious creatures.
First off, it's in a container, so someone was already curious enough with it, and the question is, did they trap it, and should I leave it go?
Yeah.
But sure as fuck tell you what curiosity did to Schrodinger's cat. Okay,
but our curiosity,
we don't know if that cat is alive or dead or both at this point.
I know that's the question in proxy, but that cat opened that poison. That cat dead. Okay, curiosity killed the fucking cat.
But satisfaction.
Here's the thing: if you never open it, and time goes by,
that's the point.
I 100% guarantee you the cat has died.
I say he did.
But it's just one of those movies where like it's not going to be the first John Carpenter movie that I recommend to you. And if you're not a fan of some of the John Carpenter stuff, then I don't know what to tell you, because this is just John Carpenter fun. And it's one of those ones like, In the Mouth of Madness is super complicated. It's one that I highly, highly recommend. There's a lot going on. This one has less going on, but it is saying a lot and a little.
Yeah.
At the same time.
No, it fits the motif perfectly. It's a great selection. I just thought after comedy, you'd go, no, I was actually hoping for
well, let's not burn. We're gonna have a discussion
because we're gonna have the honorable mentions. So let's go down.
Could you provide that little die to your wife?
Yes, here you go,
Liz. If you would give that a little roll, I'm gonna find out where Prince of Darkness is viewable.
The first thing that went through my head is it's D&D.
Hell yeah!
Legends of Yore.
It's D&D.
One. That's a good fucking
Never
pick.
touched a lady before.
That was The Prophecy. That's a good fucking pick.
All right. Is that available?
It is available on Tubi and video on demand.
All right.
I love that movie.
It's so good.
Yeah, I'm
so good.
I'm happy to revisit it because
let's revisit this list while you're typing it, because we had so many good ones.
So I'm going to go down. I don't think in the last couple episodes I went over the list again. I'm going to just go over the list and remind me to do that. We should do that from now on. So our list this evening is The Prophecy, Late Night with the Devil, The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, The Devil's Advocate, Bedazzled, Rosemary's Baby, The Ninth Gate, The Witches of Eastwick, South Park, Bigger, Longer, Uncut, Hereditary, Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny, and The Prince of Darkness. Now, I think there's a good variety of types of movies here. Like, if there's really not a movie here that you would want to watch, I don't know what you like to watch. But
Paint dry.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. If you like watching paint dry, we could have mentioned Fantasia.
That is very true.
Well, It does have the devil in it.
There's a whole segment.
But okay, so I'm going to start with the
we should just let Joe start, because if not, he's going to...
I've already got it pulled up. I'm ready to go. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Okay. Is that the one you were hoping out?
No, that's not the one I was hoping you were going for. But that one, I mean, it has robots. It has spaces.
It's one that I had thought of.
Yeah.
But
and that's the one I was going to go with over Pick a Destiny.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I got to put Prince of Darkness on.
Me too. Yeah. You surprised me with that, but I wasn't disappointed with it. Little Nicky was on there because obviously Harvey Keitel is the devil, and Rodney Dangerfield as the retired devil.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were trying to get me to do, but I was like, I like it. I like the movie. I would recommend it, but for me, it's an honorable mention.
It's funny. It's one of those slapsticky ones. You know, it's great. But
it's worth watching.
It's worth watching, but it's definitely an honorable mention because it's just so silly and
and we hit that.
It's not one of Adam Sandler's best, even though it's not a bad movie. He has worse, but
sorry, Nipples. You're not making it on.
Constantine, and that
I
was
have that too.
That was when I was thinking. I was thinking, do I go there earlier when I said
we could have had another discussion,
but after Devil's Advocate, I was like, do I go Constantine?
Right. Oh, that's with the same actors. I got you.
Because I was like on Constantine or Bill and Ted at that point. Which one? Do I? Wow. I only want to do one of his since we've already.
Keanu Reeves loving the devil aspect.
Man, he does it well, because and of course, the late great Tim Curry.
Legend.
Where he was darkness.
He was darkness. Darkness falls across the land.
I am the darkness.
The frail creatures.
Yes.
One would not think that they could contain such power.
That was good,
One could rule the universe with it.
And you said the late great. He didn't die.
Yeah, he's not dead yet. No, man. And quit putting that evil on him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
He's not doing well, but he is enjoying
he had several
himself.
strokes, but he is
okay. Yeah, I'm just remembering seeing that he had a stroke in the news. Yeah, we love you. We love you, Tim Curry.
All right, Liz, what didn't make the cut for you today?
Well, let me see. I thought it was too cliche to go with, which was The Exorcist.
It's on my list. Yeah. My problem with it was obviously the devil in spirit is there, but I wasn't sure about the manifestation, and I felt the same way about Rosemary's Baby.
And that was my hesitation.
Then I remembered the dream sequence, and I was like, oh yeah, no, the devil's definitely visible in that movie.
Yeah. And that was my hesitation with Night with the Devil, but it was just so well done in a style that's rarely done.
Understood.
And I have two more. Technically, I have a whole separate list because I'm like, it was so constraining to find just the devil. I made a whole other list.
We'll do a couple, demons. And then I'll do mine to make sure I have something to talk about. And if I don't mention those, then you can. I'm curious to know what else is on that list.
Okay, so I also had The Messenger, where
Joan of Arc?
Yeah, where Mila Jovovich plays Joan of Arc. Yeah. Because Dustin Hoffman is supposed to represent the devil.
And he does such a good job. Yeah.
And I love Dustin Hoffman. Man.
Yeah. Man. And that was a very
And they're both so young.
In its time, it was a very artsy film, so I don't think it
early
did very
2000s,
well.
Wasn't it? It did not. So here's the thing. I don't really care for...
what year was that one?
I can double check.
That's fine.
Some of the movies that are like supposed to, like Joan of Arc, I don't know, and this is legit me just being ignorant. I don't know how much we actually know about her and how much is legacy or myth.
That's
right?
fair, yeah.
There's actually a significant amount. It's fairly accurate.
I wasn't sure if that movie was posturing like this was Joan of Arc, and I was like,
she was all but a nun. She wrote down a lot of stuff. There's journals, there's accounts, there's scrolls.
So it's a movie. It's a movie that
actually being in battle.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason she was put to death was because she was wearing pants.
Well, she's a lady. She should be wearing skirts in battle. God damn it.
Yeah, when you side ride that.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on.
So you're saying this is a movie I should definitely check out. That's worth revisiting because that's one that's not talked about much, and probably
it's very artsy. Like she said, like it's beautiful for its time, but it was went to the main art theater. It didn't go all. You know what I mean? It's hard to find.
What I will warn about it, because this bothers some people, it doesn't bother others, which is like the way that she was portraying the character. She was doing a great job, but I think someone was directing her to be very breathy of how she was saying things.
Yeah.
And that's not the Mila I know.
That's not what Joan of Arc would have been.
No.
Well, it's the opposite of what the character, just, again, what little I know about her, that I would be very surprised to see her portrayed that way.
Yeah, like they had her being
it wasn't
meek,
the whole time, but it was enough to be like,
and it was kind of
she wasn't that
still a good.
She wouldn't have been that scared.
Interesting. So I did have Constantine. A lot of what I had down here, The Exorcist, Little Nicky. I had Fallen on here, but I wasn't really sure.
I thought about that one too.
Right, because it came up in some of my research, but I was like, I don't know.
That was more demonic. They definitely don't say the devil.
There was.
Yeah, I've got a whole list for you for that.
There was The Omen.
Right.
But I believe
Damien.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we had talked about that before, and maybe this is the list for it, I guess.
Right.
And technically, Damien is the son of the devil rather than the devil himself.
But
another reason I didn't really bring Constantine because that was Damien as well.
But Peter Stormare shows up as the devil.
Lucifer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
And then one that I think I mentioned way back earlier this year on maybe one of our earlier, maybe it was a music episode, but a movie called Crossroads with Ralph Macchio. Yeah. And it's the Faustian challenge for the devil type of thing where he goes on. Yeah, and Steve Vai comes out and plays the devil.
I almost use 1934, I think, Faust.
The movie Faust.
Yeah, right. I almost like,
yeah. Have you seen it?
It's been a long time, but yes. Yeah. You know me. I used to love that old cinema.
So
I still do it. I just
what's on that alternative list? Is it a whole nother episode we should be doing?
Yeah, run them down. It could be a whole other episode. That's
but
why.
If you want me to run down,
what makes them different than the others we talked about? We'll put them on a separate list.
Let's talk about how they're different.
What puts them on a separate list is it's demonic possession or like has to do with demonic things rather than the devil himself, which would be like one of the top ones I have on there is Frailty.
Frailty, yes. We've spoken of that one before.
Because that wasn't possession, but that was a person saying God was telling him to kill demons that were people.
Okay.
But there's no physical character embodying
the devil or representing. Okay. Yeah, so we'll talk about that off air because that could likely be a very good episode. So to sign off here, Liz, why don't you remind people again where they can make appointments
find your work.
Yeah, exactly.
You can go ahead and you can either look us up on Google or it's www.justbeneaththeskin.com.
And Just Beneath the Skin, that's right.
And Joe, how can people find you?
On Facebook, Joseph Sheldon Quick, IMDb as well. Instagram at chaotic_artisan, and get a hold of the podcast. Get us some comments, send us some emails. Get in the conversation. We'd love to hear from y'all.
Yeah, and you can reach us at UFPod, scratch that, backwards, reverse it, delete. UFOstudio.Detroit at gmail.com is where you can reach us. You can connect with us on Instagram or Threads at UFOstudio.Detroit. You can follow us on Facebook by looking up Unorthodox Film Podcast. You can follow along with all of our episodes and as well as pick up some merch if you go to our website at ufpodcast.podbeam.com. That's bean, not beam. I keep saying beam. Podbean.com.
P-O-D-B-E-N.
Links will be in the show notes, and you'll be able to also connect from that website to our merch store. We would love for you to find something that you would like to wear or drink out of, and it will help support our show.
Yeah.
I really, really, really would love to hear from you guys. So if you could like and subscribe and give us some comments, let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you'd like to hear. Let us know what you thought about today's episode or movies that we missed or movies that we did talk about. What are some of your favorite parts of some of the movies that we've mentioned today? And have you watched any of the movies that we've recommended? Let us know. Let us know if you've taken note and watched anything that we've talked about on this show. We'd like to know how we're doing. So give us a follow, give us a like, and then if you want to get a hold of me personally, you can go to Instagram or Threads at Beeford Clark. Thank you, everybody, and we will see you next time.
Peace out.